Timurid and the Mongolide legacy from his mother's side and Timurid legacy from his father's side. He was a ruler of Fargana who ventured into Hindustan to look for the new opportunity, and hence by 1526, the Mughal rule was established in India. So the period that I'm covering is from middle of the 16th century till middle of the 19th century. So basically, I'm focusing on Mughals. So just to share with the viewers that the burgeoning field of emotion in history has emerged as a crucial prism through which the historians now reflect the complexity of power, identity, and social transformation. The French historian Lucien Faber, who was a co-founder of the NL school, and he was the first one to work on the emotions. And he says that emotions are not just the biological constants, but these are also that shape our political and cultural history. So he insisted that human passions shape historical events too, and that article of Lucien Faber came in 1941, where he wrote on sensibility and history and how to reconstitute the emotional life in the past. Uh, Now, hello, am I audible? Slide, you were supposed to present, you were supposed to present the slide. Do you want me to share? Uh,
Okay, Dr. Amita, I'll share it from my side. I was just waiting for your confirmation when
yes.
you'll start.
Okay. So, see, you can share when I will start showing the painting. So you can start from the main painting, the first painting, right?
Okay,
Fine. Thank you so
just give me
much.
a.
So, I was talking about the founding figure of the history of emotions was Lucien Febvre. And he wrote this article, Sensibility and History, and how to reconstitute the emotional life of the past. Then we have pioneering scholars like Barbara Rosenwin and William M. Reddy, who eliminated the instrumental role of emotions in shaping the uh, shaping the cultural history and also exercising political force. So Rosenwen in the seminal work, Emotional Communities in the Early Middle Ages, and then William M. Reddy in the Invisible Code, Honor, Sentiments, and Post-Revolutionary France, 1814 to 1848. They have demonstrated that emotions such as love, shame, fear, and desire, and these are not just the merely inner states, but these are also potential historical forces that shape the trajectory of the human experience, right? Now, in the South Asian context, like the study of South Asian history, we have scholars like Margaret Purnau, who has actually placed emotions at the center stage. She was the first one to work on emotions, their role in the South Asian history. Then she, along with Imke Rajamani and Catherine Butler Schofield, they have taken center stage in exploring emotional landscape of the region. Parnau and her co-authors' work, Monsoon Rains, The History of Emotion in the Rain. It's a beautiful book which reveals the profound impact of monsoon on emotions and emotional expressness, right? So then similarly, we have Catherine Butler Schofield, who has shown that emotions in the Indian music industry, where she has tried to place love, melancholy, and traumas in the music industry, and how the music is shaped by the emotions, right? And she skillfully excavates the emotional resonance of music in the times of political upheaval. Okay, especially she talks about the late 19th century. Then we have recently Ruby Lal, who has written on gender, especially Mughal women. She has written on Noor Jahan, and she has also written on peripatetic world of the Mughals. So her evocative biography, Noor Jahan, it masterfully weaves together the intricate tapestry of emotions, including honor, grief, devotion, and love that defines the lives of royal and elite women. Then the emotional, then the historiography of Mughal India, it has been an ever-expanding domain within the vintage of emotions and gender as the two recent approaches towards understanding the concerned period. Now, we know that the pioneering attempts have been made by these scholars, and then the gender historiography in Mughal India has been recently taken by Ruby Lal, and also where they have attempted to go beyond understanding of the imperial harem. Now, harem was a place where the royal women used to live. So these used to be the secluded quarters, and under Akbar, the physical quarters were determined. Till Babur and Humayun, they were on the peripatetic, like they used to live in the camps. But when Akbar came in India, when he became the emperor at the age of 13, he ensured that there are physical boundaries of these harem, right? So many colonial historians, when they studied Mughal India, they have tried to show harem as an erotic space, harem as a space for sexual pleasure, harem only where the young women are living, and young wives, beautiful wives of the emperor are living, and they are trying to please the emperor sexually, right? Now, Ruby Lal has attempted to go beyond understanding of the imperial harem, more than just an erotic space. Then Lisa Balabani Lal, she's an American scholar. She explored the strong agency of Mughal women and also their timid legacy of power. And yet, we find the emotional well-being of these women are not being taken into these have not been taken into account. Now this becomes very important, especially when due to mental anxieties and traumas are experienced by these imperial women within the sequestered corners of the Mughal empire, that is the harem. These are often caused by the constant warfare and internal rivalries, which were the characteristics of the expanding empire, right? Now, wars, rebellions, internal rivalries, these resulted in the Mughal camp constantly moving with the expansion of the empire and resulted social developments, extension of the imperial boundaries, and but this also added to the trauma, anxiety, depression, and fear, right? Why? Because whenever the emperor was going on a war, the women were also moving. The royal women were also moving. Their camp was also moving along with the emperor. Now, their mental atrophy and emotional starvation within this most benevolent home sometimes led to depression, in which women they experience dreamlike trances, hallucinations, and moments of suicidal despair. Right now, we have examples when there is a war of succession amongst the Shah Jahan's son is going on. Then there are women who are also involved in that war of succession, where brother is fighting against the brother, and these women they are taking sides. But when they are taking side, those who they are supporting and with whom they are feeling secure and who are loving them, if they get defeated, if they get killed, then what is happening to these women? Or if they are in the unhappy marriages or forced marriages, then what is their mental condition? Are they becoming suicidal? Are they going into deep depression? Are they taking help of intoxicants? So I'm going to discuss all these things in my paper. Right. So sometimes these women, we often see that these women channelize their energies into thwarted ambitions, like the vast literary projects. So we know that Shah Jahan's daughter, Jahan Ara, she was quite a literary person. She has written Risala Timuriya, and she has also written biography of a Sufi saint. So she was quite a learned one. And I'll show you her painting also, right? Now, this stress and convention sometimes drove them to silence, depression, illness, and even death. Now, this paper attempts to examine the emotional health of imperial women caused by internal family feuds, social restraints, and inertia. The socially confining roles of women as daughters, wives, mothers, and the mistreatment within the families often are held as important reasons behind the high rate of emotional illness in women. Now, psychiatrists have noted that among their patients, women of all social classes tend to complain more about their stress and unhappiness in marriage, express more anxiety over their children, and suffer more from depression in their daily lives than their male counterparts. Many of you may not agree, but just to tell you that during COVID times, when there were COVID times in India, it was quite prevalent amongst even the quite a learned one person like me also. When we have gone through emotional trauma, anxiety, depression, right? So that is what I'm talking about. These are though the modern parameters, but a similar trend can be observed in the case of Mughal women, where numerous direct and indirect references of fear, anxiety, insecurity, jealousy, and emotional outbursts can be found in travelogues and into Persian sources, exhibited from time to time within the interplay of political role in the empire. Now, deliberate attempt has been made to avoid any pictorial evidence portraying women's real emotions, which add to the lacuna of understanding of emotions of women at the time. Can I request to show my first to show my slide of the painting? Now, generally, they are shown as the calm, composed, and the chaste royalty. Okay, can you please show um, my painting? Yes. So, if you see this here, Babar, he's a young. The first one, please. The first one. So Babar is sitting with the first one. Yes. So here Babar is sitting, and there's a reference in Babar's autobiography that his grandmother is a very learned woman, and he used to often seek advice from her, even when he was going for the war. What should be the the war strategy? That also he used to seek. But if you look at this, we hardly say any emotion of this woman who is a grandmother of Babar, and Babar is quite expressive, and he's just asking something, so his hands are like in this gesture, while the lady is sitting like this. She's very calmly listening and trying to advise, but there's no emotion on her face. So there are Persian records also of the Mughal Empire which have references of physical vulnerability. I'll ask you to please show the second one. Yes. Now here is Babar's sister sitting with Babar, and if you just zoom it, you can see that lady is sitting in a very calm and a composed. And she was, just to give you a background, why I'm showing this painting, because Khanazad Begum was married to Babar's arch enemy. He was a Uzbek Sultan, Shaybani Khan. Okay, the Uzbeks were ruling in the Transoxiana region, which is present Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan area. And Shaybani Khan has, surrounded Babar in Samarkand, and then Babur had to seek a matrimonial alliance in which he had to surrender his sister to his arch enemy. And this enemy let go Babur from Samarkand only on this condition. Now imagine, uh, the mental condition of this lady who is trying to help her brother, and giving a passage for her brother, safe passage. She compromised her life and she marries a person who is not into her, who does not love her, and who is the arch enemy. So he's and they had a child out of all these also. So that is the first reference of a politically forced marriage. Then we have another reference where there's a Hamida Banu Begum. She's a wife of Babur's son Humayun. Now she's a 14-year-old girl who meets Humayun, and Humayun is already in his middle ages, is like around 38, 39, and he gets infatuated with this, and despite Hamida Banu Begum's refusal, Humayun kept on pestering her, and with the intervention of harem women, Hamida Banu Begum successfully, she was coerced into marriage with Humayun, right? Clearly against her wishes, because she said, I want to marry a man whose collars I can reach and I can kiss his forehead. I don't want to reach a person whose skirts I cannot reach. So apparently Humayun is quite tall and Hamida Banu Begum is short. Okay. The account does not record the actual expression of Hamida Banu except this very phrase. But yes, it recorded her bold denial and irritation. It seems she has to comply with the demand and suppress her emotions in the service of the empire. Similarly, on the other hand, we have references of marriages out of love also. And there are instances of love of a powerful male becoming the decided factor in the foregoing forging into an alliance. For example, when Emperor Akbar got attracted to the beauty of his officer, Abdul Wasi Khan's wife, Abdul Wasi Khan had to divorce her so that Akbar could marry her. Now, even though Mughal sexual norms have come under scrutiny, especially by the contemporary historian like Mullah Abdul Qadir Badayuni, no work has been engaged with the women's choice and agency in these marriages. This raises a significant question. Was it norm for a woman in the Mughal Empire to come under a pressure of a powerful king or member of the aristocracy and submit to marriage even without her wishes? Some instances, however, point towards that there was a different scenario also, where there was a Central Asian lady who refused to marry her second daughter, Kichik Begum, to Sultan Masood Mirza, a very powerful Central Asian ruler, despite having a great desire for her. So these are examples that women are seen resisting the imperial whims of marriage strongly. And we do not hear the voices of Mughal women having emotional outbursts, but there are instances coming from the travel accounts, instances of rage, and also from the autobiography of Jahangir, another Mughal emperor in the 17th century. Uh, and there are references of convergent disorder, self-inflicting injuries, even murder and suicide. So it happens that when Aurangzeb defeated his brother Dara's favorite wife, Rana Dil Begum, she refused to marry Emperor Aurangzeb after the demise of her husband. And to show her rage and rejection of Aurangzeb's proposal, she inflicted injuries on herself. In fact, she took out the dagger, she scratched her face, she cut her, she chopped her hair, and she says that I'm no more beautiful. I do not have long tresses now, so I'm not an attractive woman. Please do not marry me. So she inflicted injuries on herself. While she chose to renounce her beauty, then to enter Aurangzeb's harem, Dara's another wife, Udaipuri Begum, adopted Aurangzeb's or accepted Aurangzeb's proposal. While the exact reason behind Rana's rejections are unknown, but working on emotions, we can understand that she was quite emotionally invested in Dara, and she was totally in love with Dara. So she could not think of marrying the murderer of her beloved. Her wishes were respected, and Aurangzeb did not marry. The same mental state gets reflected in Dara's daughter also when Aurangzeb proposed her marriage to his son, Prince Akbar. If a French historian Bernier is to be believed, then Princess denied the marriage by saying that she doesn't want the marriage, or she does not want to marry her father's murderer son. These mourning women were, they were intensely traumatized and developed a rage against those who had murdered Dara Shikoh. Their fear and stress are clearly evident in their refusal. However, despite the deep mental anguish, the repeated actions of rejections portrayed that they were not helpless. We also have a example. I mean, this is something which um, example which I find was very much evident in the Persian sources, but has never been brought to the limelight. There was a governor of Gujarat, Ismail Quli Khan, during the time of Akbar, who had 1,200 women as his wife. These were all beautiful women. And he was so jealous of them that when he would go to the court, he would lock their night drawers. Now, women were so agitated and humiliated with this kind of behavior. So, in the rage of this ill treatment and humiliation, they decided to get rid of their oppressor permanently. And this group of women, they gave the poison to Ismail Quli Khan and killed him. Now, so we see that this is an example of polygamous marriage. So polygamy remained a constant source of anxiety for women in Mughal India. Their anxiety had a close nexus with the feelings of insecurity experienced by a lot of women. Gulbadan Banu Begum records an interesting episode where Bega Begum felt neglected and complained to Humayun. Humayun was Baba's son, and expressed her discontent over Humayun not visiting her tent for several days. And she says that sarcastically, and this has been recorded by Baba's daughter, Gulbadan Banu Begum, that thorns have not been planted in my way, she exclaimed. These remarks makes evident her anger and frustration towards Humayun. Furthermore, the trope of helpless lover is explicit when Bega Begum says that how long will you think it's right to show all these disfavors to all helpless ones? So when Humayun, instead of validating the range of emotions experienced by Bega Begum, he showed his dissatisfaction towards her for not understanding his duties as an emperor. And as a punishment, he did not further visit her for several days. And then Bega Begum says that excuse looked worse than the fault. The similar episode, we see that there was also a kind of jealousy was also existing among these, women, because when there are a lot of women married to one man, obviously each one of them would try to draw the attention of the emperor towards them. So we have Emperor Noor Jahan, who was married to Jahangir. Then we have Rajput princess Jagat Gosai, who was also married to Jahangir. And Jahangir's, love towards Noor Jahan is very well known. So one day, Noor Jahan, while commented on Jagat Gosai's bold choice of her white cloth, of her bold colors, because she was from Rajasthan, and in Rajasthan, people do wear bright colors, right? So she says that, oh, a widow may select white clothes, but a shagun, I think married woman, must have colored clothes. Just to remind here that this was Noor Jahan's second marriage, and Noor Jahan was earlier widowed, and her earlier husband has been killed. In another episode, as recounted by Noor Jahan, Jahangir confided in Jagat Gosai about his mouth smelling good. And he says that, oh, Noor Jahan told that my mouth smells nice. And then Jagat Gosai says that, Your Majesty, the woman who has smelled the mouth of only one man cannot tell the difference. And it can only be differentiated from a bad odor by a woman who has smelled, mouth of many men. So I do not know the difference between foul smelling or bad smelling or good smelling, because I've, just experienced one man. So this was again a sarcasm on Noor Jahan. Similarly, there was a, wazir, Prime Minister Asad Khan, whose wife Nawal Bai was so obsessed with the idea of pleasing her husband in various ways so that he does not go to other women. Now, all she could think of adorning herself and please her husband. Ironically, the beauty of women was also both the answer to her insecurity and source of danger also for her. We have one example where Sultan Muizuddin, he got so jealous of his wife's beauty that he poisoned her on several occasions, and this has been recorded by Italian traveler Manucci, right? So the physical vulnerabilities of women have also added to their emotional suffering. We have umpteen number of Persian sources like Baburnama, Humayunama, Akbarnama, Tuzuk-e Jahangiri, where the stillbirths, miscarriages, and the death of infants have been noted down. According to Professor Shirin Musbi, infant mortality rate is extraordinarily high. At least 41 out of 107 children born between the period 1504 to 1666, they died in infancy, giving a rate of 38 to 32% of mortality rate. Right. The postpartum deaths of royal women have also been recorded. We have the great example of Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal was built after the death of Mumtaz Mahal, giving birth to her 14th child. The traumatic miscarriages or painful deliveries and infant deaths must have left Mughal women physically and emotionally scarred. However, these histories fail to record these after effects, their sensitivity, loss of appetite, immobility, fear of losing their men, because if they are not able to produce male child, and any kind of depression they have suffered after giving birth. Traumatic experiences may lead to serious psychological impairment, which is in modern day termed as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as we say. Humayun's defeat in the Battle of Chausa and his sad exile is extensively recorded in almost all the Persian chronicle, including the birth of Humayun Akbar. What these records do not show the stress and anxiety of Hamida Banu Begum, who is a heavily pregnant woman, and she has to constantly travel, and she had to deliver her baby on the way. And this was this naturally or forced abortion may trigger, we all know, insomnia, eating disorders, stress, anxiety, anger, loneliness, poor self-esteem in a woman, which is debated by the modern psychologist. This makes even more sense in the medieval period where polygamy was prevalent, and the cause of abortion may have been planned by the rival parties to put a stop to the king's lineage. A reference from Taverniers' account show further attest to this argument, where he speaks about how Shaista Khan's wife planned the miscarriage of 8 women in Shaista Khan's harem by his chief queen. Manucci records, he's an Italian traveler, 17th century, he visited Hindustan. He records that abortions were carried out on Aurangzeb's orders, who, according to Manucci, was against royal prince having more than 4 sons. Shah Alam's wife Nurunnisa Begum conceived after having 5 children, but Manucci was called for the forced abortion. Now, these incidents further give rise to question how these affected the physical and mental health of the Mughal women. How did they overcome this mental tormentation and physical toll? Was it the reason of the consumption of opium and prevalence of intoxicants within the harem, along with the use of wine and other intoxicants? We have the example of opium. These are certain questions which are open to further research. We do have records of case of suicides by the royal women, possibly due to the family feud between a father and a son over the throne. So Jahangir records that his son had revolted, and the son's mother, Manibai, she's a Rajput princess coming from Jaipur, she committed suicide by consuming a heavy dose of opium during the revolt of Khosrow, his son, in 1605. And here we also find Jahangir in his autobiography hinting at Manibai's mental illness, which led to write such a thing in his memoir, and I read, we do not know, but then Jahangir informs us, I quote, at time when I had gone for hunting on 6th May, 1605, she, in her agitation, swallowed a quantity of opium and quickly passed away. Now, this statement tells us that Manibai took action out of her rage, which was possibly the culmination of probably the long suppressed emotions or a mental stress, as she was torn between the fight of two men, her husband and her son. And according to research in psychology, depression mixed states with psychomotor agitation, intense emotional tension, and crowded thoughts have been strongly associated with societal behavior, measured both prospectively and posthumously via review of medical records. Jahangir also hints towards prolonged mental pressure and assigns it to the bad conduct of her son and brother towards Jahangir. In order to escape this grief and sorrow, she committed suicide, according to Jahangir. In other instance, a lady suffered emotionally and physically during the War of Succession. Dara Shikoh, after his defeat at the hands of Aurangzeb, wanted to escape to Persia through Sindh. Bernier records, Bernier again a French historian, in 17th century, he came to India by the middle of the 17th century. He records in his travelogue that Dara's wife Nadira feared that if Dara entered Persia, she along with her daughters would become slaves of the Persian monarch, Iranian monarch. But what if he did not go there and then fell into the hands of Aurangzeb? Aurangzeb will kill everyone. Moreover, she, along with her son Sipur Shikoh and daughter, were against the lifting of siege of Bakar and going towards, their enemy's territory. These emotional tensions must have prevailed in the minds of Nadira at a time when she died of excessive heat and exhaustion at Lahore. Similarly, in the War of Succession, one cannot imagine the mental state of people who immensely supported Dara, which includes Jahara Begum, who loved her brother Dara dearly and even corresponded with Aurangzeb in a letter after the Battle of Succession and to pacify their conflict. Even Roshan Ara, she stood against Roshan Ara, another sister of Aurangzeb and Dara Shikoh. They stood against Aurangzeb's noble to kill Dara and registered their disagreement, right? I want you to show the next slide, please. I'll just quickly take 5 minutes in explaining the slide and then I'm done. Now, these are some Mughal paintings which I am showing. These were painted in the 17th century. Okay, so there is a painting where the barber is dying. And if you zoom it, you can see there are people who are worried and people who are just constantly praying for his recovery, a person who is checking his forehead, and there are people who are in confusion, and there's one man who's preparing medicine. All these are, so they are shown men in action. When it comes to men, even their emotions are very much visible in the painting. But if we move to the next painting, please. After this, next painting. Yes. Can you zoom both the paintings? A little bit of zoom. Now, this is a painting of, a lady giving birth. Now, this is a painting of birth of Akbar. If you look at this painting, you can see again men are moving in emotions, and here the women who are not royal, they are talking and they are moving, but even the lady who has just given birth, she's lying just still, and there is almost no expression on her face. And the lady, and the royal lady, she's holding a baby in her hand, extreme right, and she's also, there is no expression on her face. Can you move to the slide, please? Side one. Yes. Now there's a see the lady, it's her newborn baby who is in front of her. This is Hamida Bano Begum sitting, and there's no gesture of affection. Nothing is shown towards the kid, because the royal ladies are not supposed to show their emotions, and this is very much evident even on their on their paintings. So there's no love, there's no the kindness, there's no eagerness, there's no anxiety on that woman's face. She's very calm, composed, and sitting in a very composed manner while her infant son is right before her eyes. Next slide, please. Okay, now this is again another painting, and I want you to zoom the first painting. Uh, Here again, there is a birth of, this is Akbar's wife. She's a Rajputi princess and she has given birth. Look at the lady's face. She has given birth and there's absolutely no emotion. Even the Hamida Banu Begum, it's Humayun's wife, who is sitting, next to the lady, fair lady. She's sitting on a chair. There's absolutely no emotion even on her face, and they are very calm and composed, and so there's no anxiety, no happiness, no love shown on their faces, right? While if you see the women who are of lower category, of lower status, they are like talking to one another, and they are like eager, they're quite excited. So their emotions are shown, but not on the royal ladies. Next, please. So I have tried to show in my paper, I've tried to take the records of the Persian sources and try to locate their emotions within the sources. Next, please. Um, Next slide, please. Yeah, I wanted to focus on these two ladies, three ladies, that there are absolutely no emotions. Even their hands are in a very calm and composed. Their body, there's no movement, nothing except the hand which is ahead. Okay, next, please. Yes. Now, this again, I want you to zoom to the next right side painting. This is again a painting painted during the 16th century. This is Humayun sitting along with his wife. Now, Humayun, since he had gone to Iran, he was in exile. So he had, left his son in the custody of his brother Kamran at Kabul. And so Akbar was as an infant, he was raised by his uncle. And after a long gap, their reunion of father, mother, and the son took place. Now here we see that Hamida Banu Begum, the kid is very coming lovingly towards his mother, because Akbar, this is Emperor Akbar, who had recognized his mother, is rushing towards his mother, but his mother is looking at Humayun for confirmation. If you look at the eye movement, she's looking at Humayun for confirmation. And Humayun is trying, protecting the kid, and she's spread her arms. There's absolutely no smile, no emotions on eyes, which is shown, right? Humayun's emotion is shown. There's absolutely no emotion on Humayun's, but his body is lean against the sun. So is Hamida Banu Begum's. But as a mother, you're supposed to smile, you're supposed to laugh. There's absolutely missing from painting. But the emotions of men are shown. I'll just give you an example. Next painting, please. Yes. Now, this is a painting where Akbar's mother, same mother who was sitting in earlier painting, she comes and Akbar is paying, he's saluting his mother, and his body is bent, where his mother is in palanquin, and Akbar's body is showing respect, love, and surrender towards the mother. Okay, and which is very much evident from his body language also. But next painting, please. I will show you the close up of this lady. There's absolutely no emotion on the lady. Absolutely, her face is blank. There's not even a slight smile on her face, right? So where men emotions are very much evident and visible, women emotions do not occupy a place in the Mughal painting. Next, please. Next. Next painting, please. Yes. Now this is Noor Jahan that I was talking about. Okay. Now Noor Jahan, she was a very powerful queen during Jahangir's time. She was equal. She was a co-sovereign in the Mughal Empire. And here is a Noor Jahan. There is a very famous painting. Noor Jahan is holding a rifle. She's not holding a rifle. She's cleaning the rifle. So she's great hunter. Now this is the first painting where I found emotions like the moment of pride, moment of honor, and showing her power. Oh, I can clean the rifle, I can shoot, and I can clean the rifle. And there is a bag hanging on her waistband. This bag is full of cartridges, right? So she's cleaning and she's making her gun ready to shoot. And then there is another portrait of Noor Jahan, where she's shown as a very submissive, docile wife. She's holding the portrait of her husband. So this shows submission towards your husband completely, surrender towards your husband completely. On one side, we see this pride woman, right, who takes pride in showing her, skill on in handling the gun. On one side, she's shown as a submissive, and if you look at her, she's cross-legged in the other. And on one painting, she's shown with her even the shoes. When she's holding the rifle, she's cleaning the rifle, she's shown with the shoes on and the turban. So she's like showing her masculinity also. And on the other painting, she's shown as a very feminine. She's cross-legged and she's holding, her eyes are downcast. So very submissive woman. Next, please. Next slide, please. Right. Now, okay. So this woman who is shown as a very powerful woman, now she's also, she's also, after the death of her husband, there is a record in the Persian sources that after the death of her husband, the woman who loved dressing up, the woman who built so many buildings, like she built Itmaduddaulat's tomb, which is called the Baby Taj Mahal in Agra. She built even the Karwa Sarais. She built the sarais for the travelers. She had a command over the economy of the Mughal Empire. Her annual income was beyond any estimation. She became so sad, lonely, and depressed after her husband's death that we have a record of Saki Mustaq Khan, who wrote in Masire Jahangiri that she stopped going to all the parties. She stopped wearing any color. She just wore white. No one saw her smiling, and she did not meet anyone. She, along with with her daughter, Ladli Begum, she retired towards Lahore, and we have Noor Jahan's tomb in Lahore, Pakistan. And what I want all of you to look at the verse on the epitaph. This will show you a very depressing state, a state where woman wants seclusion. She doesn't want to meet anyone. She's still, uh, you know, she's still lamenting the death of her husband. She is in mourning state. Now this is in Persian, that bar mazare ma gariba na chirage na gule na pare parwana sozat na sadai bulbule, that on the grave of this poor woman do not light any lamp. I am afraid of the light. I want to be in the dark. Do not shower flowers. Do not show any affection towards me. No moths to burn themselves in the fire or the lamp. No one should sacrifice for me. And no nightingales shall announce a death. And no, I don't want anyone, any singing or in any even a bird coming and talking near my grave. Okay, a same kind of epitaph we see in Shah Jahan's daughter epitaph also, that बगरीब सब्जा न पोशत कसे मज़ारे मुरा कि कबर पोशा गरीब है हम ही गया बस अस. Let no one cover my grave except one green grass. For this verse, grass suffices a tomb cover for the poor. She was a Mughal princess whose whose annual income was more than 22 lakhs per annum. Now, one Mughal rupee is equivalent at present to somewhere around $100. So you can, convert, or 110 pound. So you can convert, sorry, uh, 400 pound. So now you can convert her wealth. And this lady is saying, after, when her father is dead, her mother is dead, her very dear brother is lost in the battle succession. She's a rich princess. She wants to be known as a poor princess who is just in. She took the religious side, so she got lost in the uh, Sufi practices. And in fact, presently in Delhi, her grave is near the very famous Sufi saint of Delhi, Nizamuddin Aulia. Similarly, Aurangzeb's daughter's poetry also reflect the same kind of melancholy, that I have wiped clean my heart from actions, yearn, and the desires as well, and yearn alone for peace. I have no part at judgment in heaven or hell. So the emotional well-being of imperial women within the courtly culture is depicted vaguely or sometimes very clearly in Persian travel accounts. We see these sources manifesting varied emotional states of anxiety, rage, depression, love, resilience, shame, fear, fear, anxiety, and loneliness, injuries, and this came out of sometimes threats to it was also a threat to their physical well-being, which prevailed in the form of fever, plague, not plague, disorders of balls, death from childbirth, wounded injuries, and sometimes when they were epidemics like smallpox, plague, they were also dying because of that. Their kids were dying. So my research has tried to make a departure in the existing historiography on both Mughal history, both from the emotions and gender perspective, by exploring the question of women mental health. Thank you so very much. And with this, I think I'm done, and um, I'll I'll be really happy to take any question uh, if it is there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amita. And participants, the floor is open for question. And I must say that since it is history and everything has been in the past, and
Yes,
anything that we decipher, it has to be done from the images being
yes,
drawn by famous artists of the time. And to
yes,
take out and understand what exactly they have been feeling from these pictures alone, I must say that it has been deeply investigated, Dr. Amita. And
yes. So
I was,
I
yes,
have tried to take the help of, I can read Persian, so I've taken help of Persian sources, contemporary accounts, and also third viewpoint of travelers, the people who are coming from Europe, and then they are, seeing the Mughal Empire. So how they are writing. So I've included paintings, I've included Persian records, contemporary records, and also the travel accounts. They are
yes.
there are many more interesting information which I was not able to share because of the constraints of the time, but hopefully next time. And I hope this did make a sense in this um, very, very psychologically and doctor oriented conference, a scientific conference, I must say. So thank you so very
I,
much for
I
giving the opportunity.
I was also wondering what would be the state of women in that time, because they have to even the royal women have to suppress their feeling. What kind
Yes,
of life they would be living there if they cannot
yes.
express their feeling even at the birth of a child, and they were seen as plain faces, uh, a tough life.
Yes. I mean, even in the sources, it has been shown, oh, the emperor was so happy, he distributed wealth and all that. But there's absolutely no record. that how a woman was feeling, after the birth of a child, or even after the death of a child, how she was feeling. Was she's in grief? How did she overcome her grief? What mechanism? Because there were no psychiatrists available. There were
Yes,
no,
yes.
yes, there were no doctors, because these are very modern phenomena. So how they were overcoming their grief, and that is again should be further investigated, which I'm doing right now in my next research paper. Yes,
I would love to read more. I would love to read more. And there was
yeah,
one thing that you mentioned, the history of emotions in rain.
yes,
Is
yes.
it, is it a
Oh,
is it a book or research
it's a
paper?
Yes, it's a book, it's a collection of essay, and it's very interesting that how monsoon affects your emotions. So whenever anything is composed, like for example, music is composed during monsoon. So how there's a change in the tone of the music, there's a change in the composition of the songs during rains, and how the during rain, people get romantic. So the romance, most of the time, the paintings also, if you see, so it's quite a romantic, paintings that come during that time. Or even the songs are mostly the love songs. Either these are separated lovers, or the lovers who are meeting during
Who are
rain.
longing for each other's?
They're longing for each other. So they kind of longingness, which is very much expressed. Also during monsoon, when everything comes to halt, like you cannot go for war, right. So your armies are also at halt. So the culture and politics is also shaped according to the season. We know that when Napoleon went to Russia, because of the extreme winters, he
Yes.
got defeated. So it's the weather which has actually brought a shame to Napoleon, and how his emotions from the victorious to a shameful state became very evident. So they have tried to show that, they've tried to place
at
that.
at very basic, I can connect with you that change of seasons,
Yes,
when it comes to summer, when it comes to extreme winters, even though we feel it somewhere, I can connect there. It has to be recorded, and there are a lot of feelings that seasons affect.
yes, even in
One
England,
one
the poems like rain, rain, go away, because rain comes anytime in England. So the very basic child children poem for children, rain, rain, go away, come again another day, something like that is been written, right? So yes, I'm very
uh,
happy that you can connect with it.